Hi guys, it's Anna, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to make this super cool mesh tank that I just happen to be wearing. Isn't that crazy? But I think it just looks super cool. And it's actually inspired by the one that Emma Chamberlain wore, I think a few months ago on Instagram. It's by the brand Isa Boulder, I think. And it's very cute and I loved it, but I thought like, I could make that. And so I did. And I'm going to show you how you can do the same thing. It's pretty beginner friendly because it's only using like single crochet, chaining, and slip stitch, I think. It's very simple. You don't need to know a lot of stitches to do it. It just takes a little bit of time. But once you get in the groove of things, it really goes by super quickly. I did this all in one sitting today, so I believe in you. And before we get into the video, I want to really quickly thank today's sponsor, which is Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of different courses on so many different topics. And I've actually used Skillshare before this channel even existed, before I ever worked with them, which is so cool. But recently I just watched Skillshare's Adobe Premiere Pro for Beginners course by Charles Carter because I've recently got Premiere Pro to start editing my videos a little bit better. And this video is edited with Premiere Pro with the knowledge that I learned from this course. It was very daunting getting into this super complicated program to edit my videos, but this course made it so simple, so easy to get into as a beginner, and I'd highly recommend it if you are someone getting into editing. But if that's not your thing, there are so many other topics that you can find on Skillshare, like photography, self-help, music, illustration, graphic design, baking, knitting, crochet. Literally there's so much stuff. And I actually have a special little offer for you guys. So the first 1,000 people who sign up for Skillshare using the link in my description box will get a free 1-month trial to Skillshare, which is actually so amazing. There are no strings attached. You can cancel at any time, but I actually truly don't think you'll want to. There's really no reason not to give it a try. At the very least, you can just go see what courses they have to offer and see if they interest you. But thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring the video, and let's just get into the tutorial. So to start off, you're gonna need some yarn, obviously. This is the Hobie cotton rainbow yarn. Here's the info on it. You're also gonna need a crochet hook. This is a 4mm hook, and I know people are gonna ask if you can use a different size. That's totally up to you. You can use, I know a lot of people have like 5mm hooks. You could use that, but it's not gonna have the same look. It's gonna be a lot more open and loose looking because you're using a bigger hook than is supposed to be used with this yarn. So I would recommend a 4mm hook. You're gonna need some yarn scissors, or just scissors, a measuring tape, and then you'll also need a darning needle. Okay, so the first thing you're gonna need to do is measure your bust measurement. And if you don't know what that is, it's just the measurement of the fullest part of your chest all the way around. For me, my bust measurement was 34 inches. And the thing that I've kind of figured out when trying to figure out how many chains to do for the first panel is take your bust measurement in inches, which for me is 34, and multiply that by 1.35. And so that's about 46 chains, which is what I do to get like a snug fit. But if you wanted yours to be a little more loose, then you could do more than that. So first you're gonna make a slip knot, like so, and then insert your hook. And now I'm gonna chain my 46 chains. But if you're kind of hesitant about that, then what you can also do is I like to do like 40% of the bust measurement total length for one panel. So like 0.4 times 34 is about how long I want my panel to be. So that would be like 13.6 for me. So you can do either way and just kind of check those to make sure that they're the same. So I'm just gonna chain those 46 chains. You also wanna notice that I'm being really loose with my chains. Like I'm not crocheting super tightly. I'm kind of pulling some yarn out before making the chain, because this is gonna be the tightest part of the top and you wanna make sure you can get it on really easily and can get it over your body when putting it on. And also as you crochet the mesh stitch, it's gonna kind of get a little bit larger, and you don't want it to be like super big. So yeah, I crochet this a little bit more loosely. So I've done my 46 chains, which ends up being about the 13.6, which is 40% of my bust measurement. And once you're good with the length and the number of chains, then you're going to chain one more. And now we're going to do a single crochet into every single stitch. So we're going to skip that first chain that we just made and then go into the second chain from the hook. Insert your hook, get both loops on the hook right there, grab your yarn, pull through, and then yarn over and pull through those 2 loops on the hook for a single crochet. And then just do that in the next stitch right there. Insert your hook, get both loops on the hook, single crochet, and we're just gonna do this all the way down until we get to the end. So I'll just get back to you once I have done that. Okay, I'm just doing my last single crochet into that very last stitch. And now you're gonna chain 3 and then turn. And now we're gonna start our mesh stitch. So that's our very first single crochet. And we're gonna skip that one and go into this second one here with our hook. And then we're gonna do a slip stitch and then chain 3. And then skip that first one, go into the next one, do a slip stitch, chain 3, and then we're gonna continue this pattern all the way down. So we're skipping this very next stitch, going into the next one, slip stitch, chain 3, skip this stitch, go into the next one, slip stitch, chain 3. And as you can see, we're just getting these kind of loops that will become more apparent as we do more rows. But I'm just going to skip this first one and then go into the next one with a slip stitch, chain 3. Just like that. And I'm just gonna do this all the way to the end of the row. And for the very end, I have 3 single crochets left. So if I were to skip one and go in the next, then I would only have 1 left instead of 2, which I need. So I'm just gonna go into the very last one. So I'm skipping 2 stitches here, but it really doesn't matter. It doesn't affect how it's gonna look in the end. You can't notice that you did that. So I did that, and then I'm going to chain 3 for the new row and then turn. And starting now and going on for basically the remainder of this panel, you're going to go into this very first loop there that we just made. So you're gonna, after chaining the 3 for the new row, you go into that entire loop and you just do a slip stitch into the whole loop. You're not going into any stitches. Then chain 3. And again, I'm going into this big loop itself, inserting my hook, slip stitch, and then chain 3. And same thing for this one. Go into the whole loop, slip stitch, chain 3, and you're just going to do this all the way down till the end. At the very end, you're going to have this little smaller loop, but that is the loop that we're going to go into. So just go into that loop with a slip stitch and then chain 3, just like normal, and then turn. And now we're going to be going into this loop right here. Slip stitch, chain 3, slip stitch, chain 3, and then we're just following this exact same pattern down the remainder of the row. And then this is the same pattern you're going to do where you reach the end of the row, go into this very last loop, this smaller loop here. Let me show you, like that loop there. You're going there and then chain 3 and then go down the row again. And we're gonna keep doing this until you have a length that you want. So you should be able to do all of that with what I've shown you. And if it's confusing, then feel free to watch those parts again to see like how to end and begin the new row, but it's pretty simple. You just slip stitch, chain 3, go to the next one, slip stitch, chain 3, and so on. So I'm gonna do some more rows and then I'll catch up with you. All right, I've done some more rows. This is 44 rows that I've done, and I'm not finished with the top. I want it to be longer than this, but I ran out of yarn, or I like used up all of one skein. So I wanted to show you how to add another skein on without having to like weave in ends later. So you're gonna grab your new skein of yarn, and you want to have like this much left of a tail of your yarn that you're ending with, and you're gonna take, it's called the magic knot join method. I don't know, you've probably heard of it, but if you haven't, let me show you because it's actually amazing and I use it all the time. So you're gonna grab your new yarn and basically just tie a knot around the old yarn. So I just like put it over and then just tie a knot, but I'm going around this old yarn, if that makes sense. But you're gonna do the same thing with the other end. So this is like the old end. I'm gonna take it over this piece of yarn, the new piece, and just tie a knot. And now you can just pull both ends so they're together like that, and then grab your scissors and you just cut these ends as close to the knot as possible. And that's it. So now there's just this little knot where it joins, but it's not going to be noticeable at all in the top, and you won't have to weave in any ends for that. You can just carry on using this color just like you were. So I'm just gonna keep adding rows. I just wanted to check in with you. I think I'm gonna do, I'm not totally sure how long I want to do. This is the current length, and I probably want to go like, let's see, there maybe. So it shouldn't take too long, but I'll get back to you once I have the full length that I want it to be, minus the shoulders. We're gonna do like build up the shoulders, but I'll just come back to you and let you know how many rows I ended up doing. I have finished making the length of the top that I want, and now we are going to do the shoulders. So this is the front panel, and we're going to do little increases, like little rectangles there and there for the shoulders, and then for the back panel it's just going to be this, and then we're going to connect the shoulder pieces that we create to the back side, and then we only have to do the shoulder increases on one side, if that makes sense. So yeah, we're only going to do the shoulder pieces on the front panel, and then the back panel is just going to be this and nothing more. And if you're wondering, I made mine, it's about 14 inches or so from top to bottom. I'm gonna finish up this row and then show you what to do. So I'm just doing my last couple of stitches, going into the last one, and I'm gonna chain 3 and turn just like normal. But this time we're only gonna go in for a certain number of stitches. So you're gonna wanna figure that out depending on your top, because if you have a wider top, you're gonna wanna make wider shoulders probably. But I'm doing probably like a fourth of the width. So I have 20 different loops here. And so I'm gonna do a fourth of that, which is 5. So what we're gonna do is we're going to do just the normal like slip stitch chain 3 that we would do for all of the rest of the top that we did, but you're gonna stop after doing however many you wanted for your shoulder. So I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, and then chain 3. But instead of continuing on, we're gonna turn like we just reached the end of our row. And then we're gonna go back into this loop that we just made, just like normal, just like we started a new row for the whole top, but it's just short rows basically. And you wanna keep track of how many rows you do. So I just did 1, and I'll let you know how many I end up doing. Go into that last one, chain 3, turn, so that's 2 rows. And I'm just gonna do a few more, probably about that much total. So then we get like a neck about that big, and that's usually pretty good, so I'll probably do about that much. I just finished my 7th row of the shoulder, and I think that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to chain 1 and then cut my yarn. Just like that, and then pull it through. So now we're gonna make a slip knot with our yarn. And then flip this over just so you're working from right to left. And now you're gonna find this very last loop on the end and insert your hook into that whole loop. And then take your slip knot and put that on the hook, tighten it down, and then pull that through. And now chain 3. And now you can just let that end hang out. We'll deal with that later. But now we're just gonna do the same thing that we did over here. So I'm gonna do 5 of the loops.
Okay, really quickly, I wanted to let you know about something that I kind of did wrong here. So you'll see that I did like the chain 3 at the last loop, and that is correct. But what I did was my next slip stitch was in the next loop, and the slip stitch should have been in that same loop that I just did the chain 3 in. So what you're gonna do is do the same chain 3 that I did, but for your next slip stitch, you're gonna slip stitch in that same loop that you're already in for the chain 3. And then you can do your chain 3 and then move on to the next loop. But yeah, so I just went on to the next loop too early, and it didn't make a big deal, but I just wanted to let you know so you could get it correct. So yeah, hopefully that made sense.
So we're just gonna duplicate what we did on this side. So for me, that was 5 loops. So let's go into this first one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. And then we turn. And now you can see I have 5 loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's go to the first one. And then I'll be doing 7 rows of this, just like I did on the other side. So I'm working on my 2nd row. Turn. And I'm just gonna do literally the exact same thing that I did on this side, and then I'll get back to you once I've done that. I just did my 7th row, and then I just chained 1 at the end instead of chaining 3. And I'm going to cut my yarn now. So we've now done the front panel, and now all that's left is to do the back panel. So you can just rewatch the beginning part of the video because it's exactly the same, except you're just gonna stop at the point right before these shoulders were made. So just make sure that you do the same length that you made and the same width. And if you don't remember, then you can always just go in and count. If you want to know how to count the rows, just do like, this is the first one because this is single crochet, so this is the first row of mesh stitch, and then just do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and so on. So you kind of zigzag in order to count. But just replicate this minus the shoulders, and then we will connect them and we will almost be done. Okay, I'm finishing up my final stitch on the back panel, And I'm so close to being done. So right after doing that, I am gonna chain 1. And then I'm gonna connect this panel to the shoulder of this panel. And I'm gonna flip this over and lay it on top. And now I'm gonna go into this first chain of the loop right there. Just get a loop on my hook, or attempt to do so, or 2. 1 loop is fine. It's not super important that you get it perfect. You just want everything to be lined up. And now we're just gonna slip stitch these together. So I have that loop on my hook, and then I'm gonna also find a loop on this side. So I'll just find this very first loop right here on the end and just insert my hook into there, and then grab my yarn and pull through all 3 loops. And now go into another loop and find a corresponding one on the other side. It's really not super important that you get it perfect, so don't worry about it. Just found another loop that seems to line up with it, so I'm just gonna slip stitch, pull through all my loops like that, and then you're just gonna keep doing that. So I'll show you again. I'll go into this chain right here. Oops. Just gonna get 1 loop. You can get 2. You can do whatever you want. I'm not gonna stop you. But I'm just doing 1 on each side, and then find one there, and then slip stitch. You just wanna find something that like corresponds on the other side, so nothing getting like stretched out or weird, but it's not a huge deal. And then I'm just gonna go into this very last stitch, that, and then slip stitch. And now we are good on the shoulder piece, and so I'm gonna chain 1 and then cut my yarn. And then if you want to be super secure with your ends, you can like tie these together a couple times, and then we're gonna weave them in at the end. But that just like, I feel like makes them more secure. But anyway, then we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. I'm gonna make a slip knot and then just attach my yarn to the other shoulder part. Just go into this very last stitch here, and then the same thing on this side, and then put the slip knot on your hook, and then tighten that, and then pull it through all those. And then I chain 1 just to like secure it. Oops. There we go. And then I'll just do exactly what I did over here. Now I'm just doing the last stitch. And then I chained 1, and now we cut and pull through. And I'll do the same thing where I tie these together. Now all I need to do is connect the sides. So this is how the top is gonna go. This isn't gonna be like the top of the shoulder. It's actually gonna be in the back a little bit. So we're gonna fold it so that the bottoms meet, and then that's how we're gonna stitch. We're gonna stitch starting with the bottoms meeting, and then we're gonna stitch up here until you have an armpit opening or an armhole that is a good size for you. So I'm gonna start probably just going up to like there, and then I'll try it on and see if that hole needs to be smaller or larger, and you can adjust. But I'm just gonna attach my yarn at the bottom here. You probably know the drill by now, but just slip knot, go into this very first stitch, and then the same thing on the other side. And now I'm just gonna slip stitch into some corresponding stitches until I get to a length that works for me, and then I'll try it on and make sure that that's good, and then we'll cut the yarn and then do the same thing on the other side. All right, I've tried this on, and this amount of slip stitching was good for me. I liked kind of the open sleeve, a little bit. I don't know. I liked it. It felt good. So I chained up already, so I'm gonna go ahead and just cut my yarn and then pull it through. There we go. I'm just gonna do the same thing on this side of the top, and then we just have to weave in our ends, and then we are done. All right, I've seamed both of the sides up, and now I'm just gonna take my darning needle and weave in these ends. So I'm just kind of weaving the needle in between stitches. There's no like real proper way that you have to do it. You just weave it around and then thread the needle and then pull through and then just keep going. And then once you've done that a few times, you can just cut your yarn like that. And then I'll just do with other ones like this. I like to tie them because I think it just makes them more secure. So I'm just gonna do this for the rest of the ends, and then I will show you what the finished top looks like. All right, here is the finished product on. I'll do a little close up so you guys can see. I think it looks so good. The level of detail is just so cool. I'll show you the back. Here's the back. It just looks so good. I love it. You could definitely get creative with colors and do some fun colors. Maybe you could do like stripes if you wanted to go crazy, or you could use like a variegated yarn that changes color. The possibilities are endless, really. But I really hope that this video was helpful, or at least entertaining to watch. I don't know, I hope you got something out of it. If you have any questions or problems, then feel free to comment below and I will try my best to answer. Or if you just have something fun to tell me about your day. I don't know, I'll reply to you. I'll do it because I love replying to comments. I also love it when you guys tag me on Instagram or send me a message with something that you made, because it's just so fun. So if you make this, definitely let me know. And as always, you should subscribe if you're not, because it's helpful and fun and cool, and you'll be really cool if you do. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching and for sticking around to the end. Handshaking you. Oh, do you like my nails, by the way? I don't think they're not gonna focus, but they're pretty, okay? Just trust me. I will see you next time, and goodbye, and the end. And they live happily ever after. Okay, bye.